A very special part of the evening. Tonight, if you don't know, is the Team Trudeau 2019 nomination event for Anita Vandenbach. This will be Anita's third election as candidate in this riding. However, it's a very special one for all of us because it will be her first time running for re-election. I'm sure all of you have had the opportunity to meet Anita. She's always out at community events. And we are going door knocking every Saturday. So if you'd like to join us, you can also go to the front and volunteer to go door knocking with us. It's a great time. No experience is necessary. And we'd love to see you out. Now, I don't think people came here to hear me speak. So I'd like to hand it over to our MP, Anita Vandenbach.
In this room right now. And I am absolutely thrilled to see so many friends and so many familiar faces and so many new faces in the room because we are a movement that is growing. It is my absolute honor to be now the nominated candidate for Team Trudeau for 2019 for the federal election, an election that we're not only going to win, but we're going to increase our majority. And the reason that we're going to be able to win that election is because of all of you here in this room. We were one of the very first ridings that was able to meet the criteria to be able to hold this nomination meeting early. And that is because of all of you who are out knocking on doors well over a year ago. We started every Saturday last May. And so those of you that were knocking on doors, those of you that joined Victory Fund, those of you that asked others to join Victory Fund, all of the people in this room who have been working hard, who never stopped working at the day after the 2015 election, you are the reason that we are going to be able to win the next election and the election after that. The reason that it is important that we win the next election is because we started something in 2015. We started something incredibly important. And it is something that is based on a very simple notion. It is the notion that prosperity happens when everybody is included. It is the notion that environment and economy go together. That if we leave people behind, we are not a prosperous country. That we are stronger together and that we are stronger because of our diversity. And that is something that we need to continue. Because first of all, it's working. And thank you. I will never forget, after I was elected, one of the very first things that happened is we had campaigned to bring in 25,000 Syrian refugees. And everybody told us that it was impossible for government to bring 25,000 refugees at once. And you know what? They were right. It was impossible for government because it wasn't government. It was the people of Canada that came together after the leadership of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau saying, we can do it, we can work together. When we are together, we can accomplish anything. And with that kind of leadership and the kind of people that we have in this country, we didn't just bring 25,000 Syrian refugees, we brought 40,000 Syrian refugees. I know the good in Canadians. I know the good in Canadians because when I got elected, we didn't even have an office yet, and our phone was ringing off the hook with people who were saying, I want to help. I have blankets. I have a spare room. I have a job opportunity. I have an apartment. People wanted to share. We couldn't return all the calls with the people who wanted to help. And that is who we are as Canadians. Because who we are as Canadians is we know that when our neighbor does well, we all succeed. And we reject the kind of politics that we're starting to see in the world. The kind of polarizing politics that says, if your neighbor does well, that's a threat to you. If your neighbor does well, that means you're going to be worse. Your neighbor, the kind of leadership that says, your neighbor is someone to be feared. Your neighbor is someone to be afraid of. We know that as neighbors, that we succeed together, as a country, as a society. When you have a leader, when you have a prime minister, when you have members of parliament, when you have leaders in our community who say to each other, this is your neighbor, this isn't someone to be afraid of, this is someone who needs your help. As human beings, it is in our nature to want to help, but it requires the leadership to bring people together, and that is the kind of leadership that we are going to provide, not just in the 2019 election, but we are going to provide for this country in every election going forward after that. It is a leadership that is actually working for the economy. The first thing we did is we put in the Canada Child Benefit. That Canada Child Benefit that's means tested has raised over 300,000 children in this country out of poverty. That is the greatest decrease in child poverty in Canada's history. Our government acted immediately for seniors. And we know that the seniors that need the most are single seniors on the Guaranteed Income Supplement. So we increased the Guaranteed Income Supplement by 10%. And we didn't stop there. We made a deal with all of the provinces on the Canada Pension Plan to make sure that that pension plan is there for people who need it in the future. My generation are not retiring with pensions. And even those who do, we've seen with private sector pensions that it's not always reliable, something we are also working on. But what will happen with our increase in the Canada Pension Plan, the maximum benefit is going to go from $13,600 a year to $21,000 a year. That is going to make a difference. They are the ones that built this country and contributed so much. And that's not all. Now, we have increased the OAS so that an average senior will get $1,700 a year more. And youth, young people. We have doubled the number of summer jobs for young people. We are investing in co-op programs and in innovation and in coding for youth and making sure that young people have the skills and the opportunities that we're going to need for the future. And right here in Ottawa West Nepean at Algonquin College, we funded $22 million to create a new center. It's where the library is now going to be a collaboratory. It is a DARE Center for entrepreneurship and Indigenous entrepreneurship so that young people today can make the kind of connections that they need to be able to succeed into the future. And that's one of the things we've done in partnership. And we're investing. We know that there's a group of people that live in this land, the first people on this land, who have not always been able to live in the kind of prosperity or share in the prosperity that we as Canadians have. And that is Indigenous people. And we are re-establishing our relationship, our nation-to-nation relationship with Indigenous people. But that means we have to work on the material well-being of Indigenous people in this country, of children that are not able to get potable water. Well, as of today, 66 boil water advisories that were in place when we took office, some of them in place for over 40 years. 66 have been lifted. And that's not enough. We have 71 more to go, and we will be lifting every boil water advisory by 2021. We are a government that believes that climate change is going to be the single issue that our children and our grandchildren are going to judge us on. And we know that we have to take action, and we are putting a price on carbon. And we know that there are provinces and there are others who are saying that this isn't a challenge. But what has happened as a result, when you have a Premier of Ontario who is getting rid of cap and trade, he has single-handedly eliminated $2 billion of investment of Canadians in a clean economy. The federal government is going to make sure that not only do we put a price on carbon so that people will be converting to cleaner energy, but any of the money from that price on carbon is going right back to Ontarians. And we're going to make sure that those who are investing in a clean economy, those who are investing in our future, in our children, our grandchildren's future, that we are going to meet our Paris targets. And I could go on about a lot of the other investments we've made. We've put money, $7 billion into childcare. We've put $5 billion into mental health, particularly for young people. $6 billion into home care, because we know that if seniors can stay in their homes longer, that they will be able to thrive and they will be healthier and happier. And we are investing in people. And so when I went to Adore last week, I had somebody who said to me, you know, it's well and good that you're talking about women, you're talking about Indigenous people, and you're talking about immigrants, and you're talking about inclusion, but what about the economy? And I said to him, how do you think we were able to achieve the highest GDP growth in the G7? It is because we are investing in Indigenous people and in making sure that immigrants get on their feet faster, not just to get jobs, but to start creating jobs. And we're investing in our youth, and we're investing in people who perhaps have mental health challenges but could contribute their whole entire lives to this economy. We're investing in people, and that is creating the highest GDP growth in the entire G7. That's how we build our economy. We have the lowest unemployment rate since they started counting unemployment 40 years ago. We have the lowest debt to GDP ratio in the entire G7, and it's declining. In fact, the IMF said that Canada's policies should go viral. And the reason is because we know that the greatest asset, the greatest resource in any democratic country is the people of that country. The combined ideas, the combined knowledge, the combined experience, the creativity, the solutions that come from the people. And that is what we're investing in. And that is why we and our neighbors and our entire society with inclusive growth are all going to build in prosperity. And we're looking around the world, and we're seeing a number of threats to democracy. I'm on the ethics committee with Mona Fortier, who's in the back of the room, and we're looking at what's happening with Cambridge Analytica and Facebook and Aggregate IQ, and the ways in which the alt-right is getting 400,000 people to share something that isn't true and making it look like it is, and dividing, and making people think that they have something to fear from other people. And that kind of politics is a threat. It is a threat to our democracy. The greatest counterbalance to that threat are educated and informed citizens. We can lead, as members of Parliament, Mona and I and others, we can lead, but we are not enough. If they're getting 400,000 retweets, and we're getting 10 or 20 or 30, because the people who believe in building bridges, who are good people, the moderate people in the middle who believe in helping our neighbors, we're not out there. We're not angry enough. We're not out there. We're not on social media. We're not talking to our neighbors. When you go to your family reunion and you have an uncle who's talking about something about migrants and saying negative things that you know aren't true, and you say, I don't want to cause trouble, I'm going to pull back. Or you don't want to repost something because, well, somebody might think it's too political on your Facebook. Well, you know what? We no longer have the luxury of being able to say, I don't want to be controversial, I don't want to wade into politics, I don't want to call that person out, because we are at a point in history where every good person has got to come forward. And we need to make sure that we are getting 400,000 shares when we're putting something that talks about building bridges and equality and social justice. And we have a positive message. We should not be ashamed to go out and talk in our communities, at the parent-teacher council, or when you're standing at the water cooler at work, to talk about the good messages of the things that we are accomplishing as a government, but also the things that we as Canadians can do together. So what I'm asking all of you is that I don't want the alt-right and things like Ezra Levant to be the ones that are doing the voter education in this country. You, every person in this room, have to take it upon yourself to do the voter education. You are the ones. And there are maybe 100 people in this room, and there's 450 days between now and the next election. So if every one of you spoke to one person each day, just one, and talked about the positive message, and talked about things that, and corrected the mistakes and the misinterpretations that people have, if every one of you did that, we would reach every single voter in this riding between now and the next election. So that's what I'm calling on all of you to do. It's not just me, it's not just Mona, it's not just those of us who are in elected office, it is every person in this room. And when you do that, not only are we going to win the next election, not only are we going to be able to carry on a government that is building bridges and making sure every person has the same opportunity as everybody else, but we will win with an even bigger majority, and we will win the election after that.